Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Tonight hanging out with Jim Morgan, Jim the Captain Morgan, and special guest HAWKS21. Hawks, Jim, how you doing? First of all,
Yeah, doing pretty good now.
awesome.
Had a rough day, but now I got back and we're just hanging out.
Cool. And Hawks, thanks for coming to hang out tonight for a little bit. How you doing?
Yeah, super excited to join. I'm good. Happy to be here.
You was it last night? I reached out to you on Discord and was just like, hey man, like I saw your little, you know how Discord's like green light, red light. If you're present, I saw you were on. And I was like, oh, I was gonna throw together a video and reach out to him, and he couldn't do it, but here he is tonight.
Yeah, I was happy we could make this work. You caught me right before I went to bed.
Tails is in the audience. Hey buddy, Rondon. Butters, hope you're hanging around, bud. And hey guys, how you doing tonight? Wang Smith, Jabby Saints, nice to see you guys. Yeah, Hawks, give me like a bit more introduction of yourself. Like I watch your videos, just so you know. I think I've told you this, but
awesome.
Appreciate your content. Are you exclusively currently on YouTube?
Yep. So I don't do really any live things right now. And as I was saying before, I'm gonna slowly start putting that into my repertoire, but right now it's YouTube videos. I try to publish Monday through Friday, take the weekends off. Yeah, I got into this game probably at this point, I think it's been a year. I'd played other games and sort of had the realization that, you know, I'm spending all of this time getting good at this game, earning items and being able to craft things, and it ultimately doesn't really mean anything. You know, the games are fun, but whatever. That got me thinking about sort of the play to earn space. I stumbled upon, it was you specifically, and then Bulldog's videos, and that got me into the game. So it's pretty cool to be on a live with you right now, actually, I should say.
Yeah, I feel the same way about, you know, when I hear like your voice or Tails' voice or even Jim, like you guys are internet people that you know what I mean? Like Jim right. And I hang out all the time, but still, like it's Jim Morgan, guys. Jim the Captain Morgan.
It's Jim Morgan.
The infamous.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. It's like it really does feel a little bit. It's strange. It's like I hear your voice on your videos, and you hear my voice, and it's like. It's kind of this content you consume, and then there's this interactive process in this conversation that just your brain says like, what's going on, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm used to your voice. I'm just not used to you responding to
Yeah, that's right. You said that you were into, like, tell me about some of the other games that you were into before you got into this, blockchain or otherwise.
So way back in the day, my first sort of iteration of this type of game was RuneScape. I spent a lot of time in my sort of middle school and high school years playing RuneScape. And then that dropped off a little bit. And then I got super into Skyrim. And that was sort of the last thing I was playing before I still play Skyrim a ton. I love it.
Yeah.
But that was sort of my, you know, I build up this character, I'm able to make cool things, I win awesome items, and then it was sort of like, I'm doing all of this, I'm good at this game, I have these things, but ultimately it doesn't, you know, I can't translate it into anything.
Like, does it matter?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of had that sad realization when I had, you know, got my stats to a certain level and was able to do something. I was like, okay, that was a lot of time I spent, and like, now what do I do?
Now, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but in RuneScape, you can sell gold, so it matters. Yeah. I'm just throwing that out there.
Really? So I stopped playing before that was even a thing. So I've never heard of that.
It's always been a thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. You just got to know the people.
Yep. Apparently, I didn't know enough people.
Yeah, Jim used to when you played games like that, you could, I think you've talked about how I forget the phrase you used, but like selling outside of the game, right?
RMT. Yeah, real money trading, RMT activity. It's a bannable offense in nearly every single online game.
But you're a bad boy like that, eh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got banned a few times.
Yeah.
Are there like designated middlemen that, like, how would those generally go down? Okay.
So there's the old way on how you would do it was the person. So say if I'm buying gold from someone,
Yeah.
I would store it in like my account. I would just give you X amount and I would hold on to it. And then as soon as someone would want to buy it, they could either set up a middleman service. So they'll pay Dwayne X amount of money.
Right.
And then I would transfer the funds over to Dwayne, and then Dwayne would then send it over to you.
Got it.
Now, the new way of doing it is, since the RMTs don't want to hold any of the currency in case their stuff does get banned, now they are pretty much like, we set up the website. All right, Hawks, you're buying money from me, but I'm going to tell Dwayne, all right, Dwayne, I'm going to give you this much money for 20,000 gold. And then you're going to give that to me, and then I give it to Hawks. Or there's a middleman service, something along those lines. But that has been going on for a very long time.
See, that stuff, that's the sort of stuff that is like what was like before Bitcoin, there was something called, oh man, I forget it now. Was it called like Paycoin or something? It was somehow, I don't remember any of the details, but it was like blockchain before blockchain. It was like one of the kind of stepping stones along the way in this technology. And if Rondon's here, he probably remembers this stuff. He's more techie and knowledgeable in this space than I would be. But yeah, it was like one of the stepping stones for this technology. And it's funny, like what you guys are talking about, and this real money trading for in-game gold, or even Butters is talking about in the chat about how he used to do that for Diablo 2. And so did I, guys. Like Diablo 2, well, I had a video on my YouTube channel months back where I called it like D2 almost ruined my life or something like that. And it might just be for members only. So if you can't see it, it's because you're not a member. But long story short, I played it way too much. I failed university, got kicked out of my school, like was almost homeless because of that game and just alcohol consumption and being irresponsible. But that game took money. Like I spent hundreds of dollars on in-game gear, like runes and, swords and whatever. And it's looking back, it's nonsense, but it actually was really important to getting me to this place. It was like a stepping stone along the way, where this recognition that in-game stuff has real world value, even if the game doesn't allow you to sell it, even if there are hurdles to kind of between you and acquiring it or whatever. And then along comes Steam Monsters, and at the time, because Splinterlands used to be called Steam Monsters, and that when I saw it and when I felt like played it and experienced it, I was like, it really kind of immediately struck by that. Did you, Hawks, when you first played it, was it, I might have misheard you, was it the fact that you saw my video on Splinterlands, or were you touching the game and then you checked it out on YouTube and found me, or and did you feel right away when you had your hands on Splinterlands that this was something special, or did it take time for that to kick in?
Yeah, so the first thing I tried, or I didn't even end up trying this. I sort of first heard about Axie, and I learned about that game, and it just wasn't for me. It was a little too simple. There wasn't enough strategy really involved. And also the hurdles, I don't know if I'm sure some people here participated, but the hurdles to get into that game were crazy. There were like a bunch of bridges you needed to cross to move assets around, to buy things. So I just said, all right, this one isn't for me. What's another popular game? Because I want to try out this space. And that's sort of when I came to Splinterlands and your videos. And yeah, once I saw gameplay of you selecting this 6-team lineup where all of these different abilities, and I loved the simplistic complication of the game. Right? It's a very easy card game. You don't have to, you've put out your lineup and you sort of watch it go. But the team selection process and the deck building process is very complicated. Yeah. So the combination of those two things really drew me in almost immediately. There's obviously a little bit of a learning curve, having to learn all the abilities, and even some of it too is some of the third-party services that there's so many great people in this space that are making really great things. It's just hard to keep track of them all. I feel like I'd find a new website every single day that's providing value.
Totally.
Yeah, it was pretty instantaneous.
Jim, we've talked about this before, but it's been a while. What was your, like, when did it grab you? When did this game or this space grab you?
Ooh, so I've pretty much have been into Splinterlands for a little bit over a year now.
Yeah.
And I started figuring out what NFTs even were. Gary V actually kind of introduced me to them.
Yeah.
I don't actually know him, guys, but I saw a video and just learning what it was, and I came across blockchain gaming using NFTs. So I was instantly, I was a bit not so much like skeptical, but I just didn't understand what it was really. And so like I just looked more into it, and I'm like, well, this is kind of what I've been doing with like selling items to people in the gaming space, except from what it seems like I can't get banned for doing this. And so I learned a little bit about it. I started looking up NFT games. I came across one called Lost Relic, which is a Diablo style blockchain game. And I wasn't the biggest fan, gave it a shot. I didn't really like how they had things set up. And so I then was looking around more, learned about Axie and like how big that was, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean it's like thousands of dollars to get into this game? I don't want to do that. And then I actually passed Splinterlands because I thought the name was bad.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I don't even want to play that game. But then I gave it a shot. And I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool. I like this. Started looking up videos. I first came across Bulldog. And I remember when I first started, I was like, I have to watch every single video that he comes out with instantly, because if he talks about a card, I know that card price is going up. so like the first couple days, I was like going crazy on watching every single one of his videos. And then I started watching Dwayne as well. And I'm like, you know what? I think I just prefer Dwayne's content over Bulldog. Bulldog likes to play a bit more to the camera and into the chat, and watching Dwayne's stuff, I was just like, I feel like he talks a bit more to us as individuals, and I'm learning more from that.
Well, I thank you for saying that, and I'll make sure I transfer you the money I promised you for those kind words.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, wait. We're not on mute, are we?
Hawks had Butter had a good question for Hawks, actually. He says, I don't know if you can see it here, Hawks, but he says...
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Well, just for the audience, I'll read it. He says, how do you choose what content you do for your videos? I feel like your content is very unique, and I think I would agree with that. What's your approach? How are you finding kind of tips and tricks, or like what sparks an idea for you when you're covering something on Splinterlands?
So first thing I'll say is I avoid things I know I'm not good at, or like that I know I rely on other people for. So if you notice, I very rarely talk about like tokenomics or go really in depth on anything in that realm, because I know that's not me, right? That's not what I'm good at. That's not what I'm even like super interested in.
Yeah.
I'm more interested. I come from a more traditional sort of financial markets background. So that's where like my interest lies, like on the marketplace. So I do a lot of marketplace type stuff. And then it's really the strategy part of the game that interests me, both, again, from the marketplace investing aspect, as well as the gameplay. But honestly, a lot of times I don't have a great content plan. I'm just always interacting with the site, always playing, and there's always something that just tends to come up that's like, oh, I think this is really cool. And the other thing I'll say is I remember starting this game when it was basically just 12 and Bulldog making videos. And you guys could only do so much, right? You're only two people.
Yeah.
I just had this need where I was like, what are things that I wish I had when I was starting? And so I try to do that while also combining it with more advanced stuff, right? Because now at this point, some of the people who have been following me from the beginning have moved up to, gold, diamond, champion. So it's a little difficult to balance sort of I want to make sure new people are coming and watching my things and it's useful to them and they're learning something, right? I don't want someone who just started to come watch my video and is saying, all right, this is a different language to me. I can't start with this, and I get intimidated and turned off from the game. And then on the flip side, I don't want the people who have been following me for months, who are now playing in Diamond and Champion, to be like, all right, why are we talking about a Peak Monsters tutorial again? So it's definitely a little challenging. I'm sort of just hit in the moment by that type of stuff. I'd be curious how you try to balance that as well. I mean, you have a much larger audience. And, I think new people are generally going to see some of your stuff first. Is that something you think about, sort of trying to balance what you're putting out there across leagues and across person that might be watching?
It is, yeah. I mean, but at the same time, it's on like my radar for considerations, but it isn't necessarily a deciding or driving factor or like a final factor. So like for instance, my main account is usually fighting in champion or at least diamond. Right now it's in gold, but I've got a lot of power. I've got almost 1.5 million power ready to go on this thing, and that's with renting out probably almost 1 million power on this thing. No, I think I have 3 million power on this account, so I'm renting out 1.5 million or something, and then I've got like a ton left over, and that's pretty niche. Like very few people that watch me are going to be in that boat, but there is something to be said for kind of covering the higher end of the competitive content, so that people can see that element of the game that they can't necessarily step into. So that's what I've found, is that there is appetite for all of it, like from the bronze to diamond and like the super technical kind of some of the tokenomic stuff, or like getting into just speculation on that the economic side of things. That's definitely an exciting kind of desire. That's something I like talking about. But I also think that there's this huge audience, and hopefully a growing audience, that are interested in that beginner stuff too. And the problem is, those are not going to be the sort of video that grab someone's, like the type of video that there's probably a few different types of videos that are usually very successful. And I find one of them is like price prediction stuff, and another one is like any sort of speculation. And now I'm recognizing some of the kind of the push and shove between people on different issues, that hopefully we can unlock some of the nuance. That can be one of those ones that seems to be quite enjoyable for the audience, and hopefully educational. So those are kind of realms that I explore, and then but I find it's very helpful once you get and I know your community is growing rapidly. You just got the Discord started, I think, right?
Yep.
So in that whole growth, there's just that opportunity to like invite them into the creative process, like we try to do on my YouTube channel, and like we try to do tonight, hopefully with the chat, because they're gonna spark stuff, right? They're gonna trigger some sort of question or idea, or just a nugget that gets us going on something, and then that interactive thing is something I really enjoy. I like, you were saying you're kind of just dabbling with the live. I feel like that's the thing that I like most, but it isn't something I can do all the time, because I need to, as much as I really like this sort of stream of consciousness conversation, and who knows where it's going to go, I love that content in real life, like for my own personal enjoyment, but also for content creation. However, it's time consuming. Like we're going to be here for 2 hours versus I can hammer out 4 videos that are 15 minutes each with like a relatively clear thesis for each of them in probably an hour and a half. And those will each probably generate as much revenue as a 2-hour live stream, because people, there are 2 type of viewers. Guys who want to watch like a 3-hour stream about whatever, and guys who are into like a clear thesis, and the thumbnail tells me what it's going to tell me, but that's what I want. So Yeah, navigating those two, like the stream of consciousness versus like the clear idea.
Real quick, I just want to let everyone know what my favorite content that Dwayne has is. It's the one that's actually for members only. So if you're interested in going to check out some of those awesome videos, be sure to become maybe a bronze, maybe silver membership to Dwayne Cunningham
Yeah.
on YouTube. Go check it out, guys.